The Art Center inspires creativity and contributes to
community well-being
through equitable access to
and engagement with visual arts.
We collaborate to offer exhibitions,
learning opportunities, artist development,
and cultural events centered on
art, artists, and art enthusiasts in the greater Corvallis area.
Welcome to TAC Makes, a podcast. I'm Jenny Castle, the curator at the Art Center in Corvallis, Oregon. Today I had the opportunity to speak with collaborators who made our upcoming exhibition, Glint, Glimmer, Glow, a success. On this episode, you will hear from featured artist Kathryn Cellerini Moore, her studio assistant, and a group of 5 Oregon State University engineering students who enabled us to exhibit Kathryn's work using solar power. Glint, Glimmer, Glow opens at the Art Center on May 16th with an opening reception from 5:30 to 7 p.m. I hope you enjoy hearing more about what went into putting together this innovative exhibition, and I hope to see you in the gallery soon. So I'm going to have everyone introduce themselves so our listeners can figure out who's in this room. Kathryn, let's start with you.
All right. My name is Kathryn Cellerini Moore, and I am an artist, a mom, an educator. I teach at Willamette University in the studio art department, where I teach anything from painting, printmaking, and drawing. And I'm a concerned citizen of planet Earth, as you will hear more about in a little while.
I'm Carson. I'm part of the mechanical engineering side of the project. I'm a senior at Oregon State University, and I was mainly focused on designing the top half of the solar panel structure, which included like the frame that holds the solar panels.
I'm Camden Warm. I'm a mechanical engineering and mathematics student at OSU, and I specialized in the design of the solar structure, mainly the supporting foundation.
My name is Hubert Sobiewski. I am a mechanical engineering major with a design and innovation minor here at Oregon State University. And I mostly focused on the interior aesthetic structure of the solar energy system, which consisted of the hexagons, and assisting the electrical engineering students at times with any structural concerns, such as relating to the main assembly board, which we nicknamed Helios.
Speaking of electrical engineers, that is us. I'm Alex. This is Gabriel. We are part of the electrical engineering team, and we designed the whole solar system. I was in charge of the solar panels and battery, while Gabriel was in charge of the solar charge controller and the inverter. But we worked pretty evenly across the entire board.
Yeah, we both learned everything about it.
Hi, I'm Sarah Jo Menke. I'm Kathryn's studio assistant and also a senior art major where she teaches at Willamette University.
All right. Welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. Glint, Glimmer, Glow is a really innovative exhibition that the Art Center is really proud to be presenting. Kathryn, can you speak a little bit about your artistic practice and how it brought you to an exhibition like Glint, Glimmer, Glow?
Sure. I think I'll speak thematically first. So one of my favorite questions, if not my favorite question, is what if? And so I think of my research and artistic practice as a celebration of curiosity, of wonder, of scientific inquiry, and just asking what if, what is around us. And in terms of visuals, I have been painting, drawing, and printmaking. I started studying that at Oregon State University a long time ago, back in the early aughts. And in graduate school, I started implementing installation and sculpture practices into my 2-dimensional work. And also I started using a lot of recycled materials as well at that time. And ever since about 2012, 2013, I've really become focused toward finding better ways and more efficient ways to become more eco-friendly in my studio practice. So I use a lot of recycled materials, a lot of upcycled materials, and I've set, rules for myself that if I buy something new, it will get used again. And so we'll talk more about this later, but recycled components is a piece of one of the challenges that the team faced for this particular exhibit. As of late, the past few years, I've been really interested in the physics of light and the interplay of how light affects our perceptions and our emotions when we enter a room, when we're out going for a hike. And so that has driven me to study light in different forms. So if you look at my practice for the past few years, I've been doing some collaborations with scientists, but a lot of my painting has been digital. That includes things like microscopy videos where I'm looking at microorganisms under the microscope, taking videos of those. I'm also looking through telescopes, taking images through telescopes, and then compiling and layering and creating texture and variety and color and kind of ethereal spaces that people get to walk into and experience. The other piece about my work right now is that it's very collaborative. I've had the pleasure the last few years to work with some amazing students at Willamette University where I teach. And so I was really excited when I tried to recruit Sarah Jo back in September, October when I was in Iceland, and basically all but begged Sarah Jo to be my assistant because I've been working with Sarah since she was a first year at Willamette University and have watched her practice grow. And I can trust Sarah Jo as a brain trust comrade, but also has impeccable skills for crafting objects and has a love for craft. So collaborating with students is a piece of my practice, but then also building this art and community has become more and more a central role or a central practice in the art making. So, this is the biggest team we've worked with, and I'm really excited about that and the possibilities that it has laid out.
So, Kathryn, you mentioned your time in Iceland. Can you talk a little bit about that residency and how it's directly relating to this exhibition?
Yes. So my family and I got to spend 5 weeks in Iceland in November when it's really dark and only getting darker. As somebody who lives at the 45-degree, parallel on the earth, that was a shock. But the reason that I wanted to go to Iceland in the winter was because something really amazing happens there more regularly and is most visible in the winter months, and that is the aurora borealis. And I had seen and heard that, studied the auroras a little bit because I'm interested again in light and the physics of light. I wanted to really take a deeper dive into how do those auroras work? I mean, it looks like a painting in the sky, but I've never experienced it until November. I hadn't experienced that in person before. In preparing for that residency, I reached out to a couple of folks who live in Iceland, 2 astronomers affiliated with the University of Iceland. And while I was there, they helped me learn how to read the metrics that they use to predict the auroras, and not only predict if they're going to happen, but also how intense the light will be, and also what hues the light will be. And also was very humbled by, we have all these metrics, but that doesn't mean they're going to show up, even if they say, the numbers say, it should happen and you can be there, and it won't happen because, Mother Nature has the final say, right? So at any rate, in Iceland, I made some friends. They helped me learn how to chase these auroras, and I learned how to take footage of auroras, which is a whole different conversation, right? Learning how to film these things that are ever changing in really dark environments. And then something that I didn't expect, but was really lovely was in living in this very tiny village just south of the Arctic Circle, Skagastrand, I met some folks who work at a marine biology laboratory there in this village of 481 people. They had everything, including a marine biology laboratory. They allowed me to come in and use their microscopes. So I got to continue my microscope videography practice and take samples in the field alongside one of their scientists, take field samples from the harbor again in the winter, and look at them under the microscope. So bringing that all back around full circle, part of what is in Glint, Glimmer, Glow that people will see is the aurora footage, all right, and also the microorganism footage that I captured. Those are part of a larger ongoing cache of videos that I've been creating over the years. And so there will be microorganisms also from, my house and other variants.
So, this juncture of art and science is, fascinating. What do you all of these things that you learned while you're on your residency? What are you hoping for the experience to be like when people walk into the gallery here in Corvallis?
Yeah. So, ultimately what it comes down to, materiality is very important to me. And I think the whole team is kind of getting that sense about me because I've talked a lot about the meaning of materials that we're using. Aesthetically, I've talked a little bit about the organisms that people will encounter. But in the end, Glint, Glimmer, and Glow, it's inspired by solar powered phenomenon, these auroras, and also powered by solar energy. The hope with this particular exhibit is to allow the technology to also be in the forefront alongside the artwork and become part and be integrated into the installation itself. So when people come to the show, they'll see glittering metal and glittering glass and the videos, that I've been talking about. But in addition to that, Hugh and I have been talking more regularly about what the battery wall, Helios, is going to be looking like and the aesthetics of that and matching some of the greens. And so we'll go into that more. But I hope that people are excited to see a beautiful integration of the technology that's available, how we are presenting a solution to a very timely issue that is facing a lot of cultural institutions around the world, which is to say, for example, these museums in Europe are being mandated to become net zero or powered by green energy in the next 20 to 30 years. Nobody's achieved it yet. One of the wonderful things that art can do is create a ripple effect. And so working with this team has really inspired me because we are getting to present one possible solution, our creative solution, given our resources and being as scrappy as we've been to find these reused or used materials to create an option or something, a solution, like I said, to power the show as close to net zero as we can be, and then have that conversation about, and extend the hand out to other people and other institutions to say, this is what we've done. Take this and run and iterate and see what you can do, because we all have a stake in this.
Sarah Jo, Kathryn mentioned how supportive you've been in the craft of her practice and providing support in the creation of the materials for this show. Can you talk a little bit about that experience and maybe the techniques you've contributed and maybe what you've learned as you all have prepared for this installation?
Yeah, I'd love to speak more. Working with Kathryn is really a delight. There's so much energy and vibrancy that always is happening in Kathryn's studio. Currently, everything I'm learning is all brand new to me. We are working predominantly with chainmail, and then, like Kathryn stated earlier, recycled materials from past exhibitions. So when I showed up to the studio and Kathryn was like, I'm thinking like using chainmail as my main source. I was like, I have no clue what to do with chainmail or how to work with it. And so it's been an ongoing learning experience of how do we weave the links. And I've learned how to use this really cool handmade riveting tool to weave together these patches of chainmail. Beyond that, I'm learning a lot about projection, how to work within a gallery space, what materials mean what, and how artists make meaning through materials. Further things, documentation, how important that is. We take photos a lot of us being silly and goofy in the studio, me just standing on things, holding projectors. So there's lots of moments for fun and enthusiasm in that way.
Absolutely. And one other thing that, if I may add to your list of things that you've been doing, Sarah, you also showed me that it's possible to grow salt crystals on stones, like smooth stones. And so, it's another natural material that you'll find in the show. Currently, my garage is now a crystal growing garden. So Sarah Jo also spent a few weeks trying to figure out the right conditions to be able to grow crystals on top of rocks. So salt crystals.
This exhibition has been so uniquely collaborative, and everyone's been bringing their own expertise to the project, which has been, I think, in alignment with your practice in general, Kathryn, but has also been a great joy and a learning experience, I think, for everyone involved. I'd love to hear more from the engineering students so that our audience can learn more about the process that it took to create this element of the exhibition that not only aligns with sustainability practices that Kathryn and the Art Center both feel are really important, but has also melded with the design and the aesthetics of this exhibition. I mean, starting with the solar power source itself, which is, beautifully linked to the auroras that we're mentioning in the exhibition. This was a really unique project. The capstone students at OSU have enthusiastically joined us in this project. And so, Alex, can you speak a little bit about what drew you to this project and why this unique experience is something that you wanted to take part in?
Personally speaking, the big thing that I'm interested in as an electrical engineer and why I pursued electrical engineering in the first place is large-scale power stuff. So power generation, distribution, that kind of stuff. So when I heard about this project about powering an entire exhibit utilizing all these technologies that I've now come to understand through my time at OSU, I was ecstatic to finally put my knowledge to the test and to show, I can actually do what I want to do. Gabriel, what about you?
I agree. Yeah, similar reasons.
The project started with a group of electrical engineering students, and Gabriel, you were one of those original students that started with us. I mean, what was it at this point? Like six months ago? Can you talk about some of the challenges that you faced as you were trying to develop the necessary power components to make this a functioning system in a very specific space at the Art Center?
Some significant challenges that we faced were doing things hands-on, building it, doing things that like normally an electrician would be trained to do. In our program, we don't learn electrician-y type of stuff. So, and obviously we did that, safely and everything. We didn't just like wing it, but it was scary because it was high stakes. It had to be really safe. It had to also work. That was the scariest and most challenging part for us is how do we do something on the AC side? Like we could talk more specifics about the system, but there's kind of two sides to it. The way I see it is like the DC side and the AC side, and the AC side is kind of like what we have in our houses and where we just plug stuff in. So how do we make like somewhere that we could plug in all the projectors and stuff? So that was a big challenge, figuring that out.
Do you think that experience will inform how you work on future projects after graduation?
This entire process has been a very valuable learning experience for us. Through these challenges, we figured out how to overcome them, figured out how new skills in order to overcome them. So I think we're going to definitely put them to the test to further use in the next coming years.
I'm really excited to get the whole unit physically into the space, and it'll be a beautiful moment when it works and a projector turns on. That'll be amazing. So one of the other important components of this project was that the whole unit was going to be part of the exhibit. Very early on in the process, we as a group decided that we weren't going to hide the energy source. It was going to become part of the exhibition. That meant that there was a new set of challenges to be added to not only functionality, but the aesthetics of the project. We were very lucky to have 3 more students who've already introduced themselves join us from the mechanical engineering side. And they brought some design aspects to the project. So Hubert, do you want to talk a little bit about the process of balancing functionality with the aesthetics?
Yeah, of course. So balancing those two aspects was tricky at times, I won't lie. We did feel it back and forth, kind of like a seesaw motion during the whole process, especially for us, since our focus was the structure that would hold the solar panels mostly. It was for us to make sure that it will indeed support the weight and not fail physically in any way. And this started with us deliberating, generating, ideating different designs that we felt could work. And at one point, we came up with 30 different ideas for the structure alone, ranging from some absolutely mind-boggling designs that just looked amazing to some very more simple ones, but felt functionally sound. We had to narrow all those down. And once we got that narrowed down, it really became more structural focused. But that's not to say that the aesthetics didn't matter in any way. Along every step in our design process, the overall appearance was always something that we were thinking about in the back of our minds. Like, yes, we can make this support the solar panels, but can we make it also look nice and ultimately complement Kathryn's art exhibition, since that's one of the main goals that we had, was to make it aesthetically pleasing and make it something that people would want to see. And when they see it, become enamored by it and want to go inside and see more. So some ways we found to balance that was to actually include outside help. We consulted several OSU engineering staff to help with like calculations, analyses, and such, to make sure that what we were designing could actually be possible and kept our ideas realistic and grounded. But at the same time, like constantly consulting with Kathryn whenever we had new designs, new ideas, to see that it's still aligned with her image for the show. I feel like definitely kept that balance somewhat. An aspect that I actually love about our design that kind of mends those two worlds together is our lattice structure that we have at the bottom of the solar panels, where it looks very aesthetic and very unique to look at, while still also being a functional part of the structure, where it's weight distribution and preventing any sort of unwanted loads to tip the whole structure, which Camden could speak more on, as he's really the magic behind that whole idea and made it happen with his whole creativity.
So just for reference for our viewers, I mean, this show will open on May 16th. So you may be listening to this while we're installing the exhibition, which come by and see the chaos. I'm sure it'll be really fun. But this structure will be outside the Art Center. While it's not in the gallery with all of Kathryn's art, it is an extension of the exhibition, and it'll be a really beautiful structure that will be linked to the gallery through my office window. The perfect access point.
Camden will speak more to this, but they came up with this really great idea to make the structure outside holding the solar panels in the shape of a microscope, right? So it is also aesthetically linked.
Cam, did you want to talk a little bit about that now?
I definitely was wanting to talk more about what Hubert was saying, and how we started off with a lot of designs that were inspired from art. And these, there are some solar installations. There's one in Portland that's very artistically inspired and striking. It's these giant sort of flower plant shaped looking solar mounts. If we were to build something like that, that would require us to dig into the ground and do a bunch of things that we aren't allowed to do on the Art Center premises. Sort of starting from those ideas and making compromises with structural needs in our project was continuous, and the design process really helped with that. The microscope idea was an early idea in our design, being inspired from Kathryn's work with microorganisms and the actual hard science she had to do over in her residency. We felt like that was a good representation of the science that allowed the art to become possible. And in a duality, the solar panels allow this show to be powered. We've had to make a lot of aesthetic changes as our design comes into full fruition, but we're happy with what we've been able to keep.
The Art Center was able to secure a grant from the Pacific Power Foundation. While it was a very generous grant, this team has been asked to work within a budget that has been difficult at times. I mean, we're trying to do a lot with just a little bit of resources. Partially, like one of the ways that we achieved that goal was kind of falling back on something that Kathryn was talking about earlier, which is using materials that are recycled or can be used again for future purposes. This team has done a lot of work searching for reclaimed materials. One of our mechanical engineers, Carson, was going to talk a little bit about how you sourced that. And I'm sure there was some excitement in that journey, but also some challenges. Can you talk a little bit about that process?
Yeah, definitely. So when we started sourcing materials, we quickly learned that there's a wide variety of pieces at these places. A lot of times they're not all the same. That brought some pros, but also some cons. So on the positive side, there's a lot of options in terms of the direction we could take the project. And it also opened up our eyes to more design ideas, which was a lot of fun to kind of sift through and dive in deeper to all those new ideas, just problem solving. But on the other hand, it made designing difficult because we were never exactly sure the specific materials we were going to have access to. Well, the design needed like a degree of symmetry, and it was hard finding enough of specific shapes to use throughout the design. But it honestly was a lot of fun. And I think the whole reclaimed idea fits in well with the theme of the art exhibition.
I agree. Kathryn, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, it's been really wonderful to work with the engineering team, the whole team, and learning about how you all process these kinds of creative challenges, right? So like Carson was just talking about how you can't find the same thing every time you go back to the recycled metal shop. And so you have to, like, through the investigation, like, change your design based on what it is you have access to, right? And that's a challenge that engineers and artists both face. It's been really interesting to listen and like talk through some of those challenges. And also, I've just been so impressed. Gabriel turned a room in his apartment into a shop to do like over spring break in order to like put Helios together at this all the conduits and such. And then the Carson and Camden and he were talking about going, and they've learned how to weld and are like able to use the facilities at OSU to, take the I-beam that they found and like split it into as many pieces as they need so they can actually then build the thing that they want. Never mind the rust. What do we do with that? And so it's been a fun learning process for me as well.
Yeah, I don't feel like there's been very many variables that have remained constant through this entire project. And yet the whole team pivots every time we have to change direction, which has been really wonderful. Your exhibition is celebrating a lot of the experiences that have been necessary to make it possible. So I think it's, like you said, your work is about kind of the wonder of discovery. And I think people will walk through the space and have that experience. But I feel like we've had a version of that trying to make this experiment that is this solar panel mechanism come together at all.
Just going to say that, outside of, our core team here, there have been a lot of people who have contributed to this in a manner of ways. And so the gratitude list on the Art Center's website is long and grows as people have contributed. And so I just a shout out to anybody who's helped us along the way who aren't necessarily speaking in the podcast right now, from mentors to friends and family and so on. This, for me, I'm so passionate about this particular project because it's a testament to what can be done when a group of people from different backgrounds and with different skill sets come together and say, here's the problem, let's talk through a solution and let's see how we can get it done. So
very well said. Does anyone on the call have anything they want to add that you feel is important to share with the Corvallis community as they walk through this amazing show?
I will say, maybe, I don't know if everybody knows this, but linking to Oregon State University on this, when Jenny offered me the show, or, the space to build a show, Jenny didn't know, I kind of sprung it on Jenny after I got the contract, that I was interested in pursuing a kind of a sustainable or net zero or green energy way of powering the show. And Jenny and I were talking about that, and we're like, well, do you know anybody like in renewables? I don't know anybody in renewables. But I am OSU alum. I have fond experiences of walking through the engineering buildings. And I remembered that I once painted a mural for the Wallace Energy Renewables Systems facility. And those murals are still in that building. And so I emailed the folks in charge of that facility. And I said, hey, my name's Kathryn. I have the show coming up. There's going to be this community component. would anybody be interested in, in helping facilitate the renewables engineering piece of this? And I was directed to Professor Dawn here, who is mentor for Gabriel and Alex. And I was introduced to Chet Udell, who is with the Design for Social Impact Initiative, which is a new initiative at Oregon State University, who also suggested that I reach out to mechanical engineering, so that we could have this interdisciplinary group and an interdisciplinary approach to solve this problem. So in the end, fast forward, 8-9 months later, those initial emails to Dawn, I think, were back in July or August. Here we are, coming to a close and getting ready to start installation, which I'm really excited about. And I can't wait to document everything, as Sarah Jo said. Take pictures of everything so that we can all have evidence that we were together doing this thing.
Mm-hmm. Evidence that we were safely holding ladders for everything.
That's right.
You're not going to find anything.
On June 7th, we have our engineering expo.
Good. Yeah.
And so if anyone has questions or just wants to talk about our side of the project, you can come to Oregon State, and we'll be there all day on the 7th. So swing by and talk to us about it if you want.
Yep. The location is at the Alumni Center. It's right across from Reser Stadium, and it'll go from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. So if you want to, come ask us questions, see some details that we might not have talked about here, or something that you might not have seen at the show itself.
Do you want to pitch your thesis exhibit for people who drive through Salem as well?
Well, if anyone's passing through Salem and is interested in the work that Kathryn helps mentor with the students here at Willamette, and what they create what they take from Kathryn's classes and the other teachers here and create in their thesis. We are having a senior thesis exhibition at Hallie Ford, and we'd love it if you would come and see our work and ask us questions if we're around.
Hey, and then I will do one final plug. Glint, Glimmer, Glow is going to be at the Arts Center May 16th through June 29th. Installation starts May 1st. So if you come by, the gallery will be closed, but you will see our group hard at work getting everything installed for this experience. We're going to hold a reception on Thursday, May 16th from 5:30 to 7 p.m. There will be an artist talk with this panel that evening at 6 p.m. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to TAC Makes. This is a new creative project at the Arts Center, and I hope you enjoy our learning curve as much as we do. You can find more episodes on YouTube and Spotify and on our website, theartscenter.net. That's arts with an S.